how are you not tempted to look at that and say, you know what, if I do that, then I think it'll also get a large amount of views?
I don't want to make the noise out there push me off of what my vision is. Putting quality over quantity because that's what's lasting in your wardrobe.
What is your motivation on every piece of content? Because it's not maximum views.
I just want to share what I love and what works for me for many years.
So welcome back to another episode of the Creator Method podcast. I feel like I've been out of this seat for a little bit, but I'm happy to jump into it with Nadia König Muniz. Nadia, tell me how to pronounce your name correctly. Nadia, I know. Muniz, I believe I got correct. Yeah. König, it's Swiss.
It's actually it's king in German.
Okay.
König, yeah.
Okay.
It means king.
Say it again.
Nadia König Muniz.
Okay, I'm not going to attempt it again because I feel like I'm embarrassing myself. But yeah, I will. Nadia König Muniz. Okay, so
yeah, you got it.
Thank you. Let's get into it. So today's guest, I'm going to go straight into this bio. I'm excited about this episode. Today's guest is someone who has built a real leverage and scale in the creator economy by trusting her ability to communicate good taste instead of hacking the algorithm. And before I continue with this bio, I mean, that to me, it's such an important premise. And it's so the thesis about everything that we talk about in Creator Method is that we believe, and I specifically believe, in creating personal brand, not through sensationalism, is taking a step back, doing it for the long term and not looking at immediate results, which you are such a perfect example of when I've looked into your social media. So Nadia, at 479,000 followers on Instagram, is the founder and creative director of LaNaia Jewels. She is a Swiss-born, Miami-based entrepreneur, fine jewelry designer, and fashion creator who built a creator-led luxury brand by solving a problem she personally experienced and refusing to compromise her standards. Her creative instincts showed early. She studied art in Switzerland and Italy, spent nearly a decade modeling while earning both a bachelor's and a master's degree in law, and developed a deep understanding of aesthetics, image, and perception long before becoming a creator. During the pandemic, Nadia began sharing her approach to luxury capsule wardrobes, not trends, not constant novelty, but clear, repeatable frameworks that help women know exactly what to own, invest in, and wear on repeat. That consistency built trust, and that trust became demand. Today, she runs LaNaia Jewels alongside her husband/business partner, who was a former Google executive. Together, they've doubled growth in the past year, expanded retail into New York City with Europe Next, and continue to grow a global audience without chasing trends or sacrificing brand integrity. This conversation is about how that actually works. Nadia, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Gary.
Well, it's really a pleasure. So, I started talking to you about this, before we started, and I touched upon it, is that you have built a personal brand of 479,000 followers without what I call hooks and hacks, without any algorithm hacking. I mean, I've done a deep dive into your content. You are really displaying your skill and your talent, putting outfits together, personal style. And I don't see these like trends that often, people leverage in order to get views. So, I'd love for you to kind of elaborate on how you took the slow approach and how you have and continue to have the patience, which eventually got you to as many followers as you have. But take me through your logic around doing this without chasing algorithm.
Yeah. So as you mentioned before, I started posting about my outfits on social media during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so I used my social media channel kind of like a creative outlet to share my transition. Also, at that time, I turned 30, and I felt there was so much clutter in my wardrobe. So I started decluttering my wardrobe. I started thinking about what served me, what helped me feel my best when I get dressed in the morning, and how can I make it easier for me to focus on pieces that are comfortable, that work well together, that look good styled together. And also that, make me feel my best by showing up well-dressed.
Sure.
Obviously, no one can tell they're not feeling good about
I feel it's so much more difficult for a woman because for a man, we just throw on like the same or similar pair of pants and the same or similar t-shirt or sweatshirt or button down. It's just so much simpler for a man. So for women, I can see this as actually being a real challenge. Like I see the amount of effort my wife puts into getting dressed. I mean, it's no joke.
Yeah, I think for women, it's that they have a lot of different options, and the more options there are on the market, and there's
Yeah.
a reason for it, because women are the number one consumers out
Absolutely.
there, right? So there is so much variety for women that it can get crowded, and it can get very hard to pick the right colors, to pick the right shapes that work for your body type. So I
Pick the right texture. I remember
right
seeing in one of your videos.
and also fabrics. Like what is comfortable is what's breathable, what's natural, what feels good on your skin and it's not itchy and doesn't make you sweat. So all these factors, I just started eliminating pieces from my really cluttered closet and wardrobe as we spent more time indoors during the pandemic, because, you know, everyone spent more time inside their house, right? And then you look at what you own, and then you identify the pieces that don't serve you. And then I started sharing my journey to reducing to what really served me and what made me feel good online by sharing my daily mirror outfit posts. You know, I styled a pair of pants in like 3 different ways. So that is a piece that I want to keep because it works for different outfits in my wardrobe.
It's versatile.
It's versatile. I shoot the content and I post it online, and people resonated with that thought that, hey, yeah, these pants look great on you. So, you know, you should keep them. And as you probably also saw in my content, I don't really show my face that much because I want to make people think how this outfit could look on them. So I don't want to put too much of my own personality, like personal looks into the outfit, so people can subconsciously copy and paste it to their own bodies.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does make a lot of sense. But when you start, I mean, look, it makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, the type of content you create, it's very useful. But let me ask you something else. How difficult was it, or is it for you to continue doing this? And at what frequency do you put this kind of content out?
It has been continued becoming more difficult for me to be consistent with the mirror selfie content, because when I started out, it was just fine to post a picture a day. And that's what I did actually before going to bed. I edited my photo a little bit and then I posted it before going to bed, and I did that every night.
And that was what year was this?
That was 2020, early 2020.
Okay. So it was right around pandemic.
Yeah, pandemic started, and then
And where were you? You were already in Miami?
I just moved to San Francisco in 2019.
Okay.
And then got married. And then in 2020, we were supposed to have our big wedding in Switzerland, but yeah, we all know what happened.
But then the pandemic hit.
Yeah, postponed it.
Right.
And then we decided also to move from San Francisco to Miami. So
Right.
I was in San Francisco when I started the mirror selfies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you started, but when did you said you took photos, but now when I look at your work is all reels, or mostly reels.
Yeah. So the reason why I pivoted a little bit is because I saw my regular content engagement going down a little bit.
Regular content meaning
Just the photo content, right. But not necessarily among my followers. It was more among reaching new audiences.
It wasn't reaching new audiences.
Exactly.
So then you transitioned to reels.
Yeah.
So when you started back in 2020, and again, like I just want to make a point that just to quantify what you've done is that you have, I think, over 2,100 posts. Mm-hmm. You've done that in a 6-year span. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you have just under 500,000 followers. And so when you started, it was only carousels?
It was just a picture, honestly.
It was just
not
one
even
photo?
A carousel. Yeah, I took my content and then I edited pictures. I had content for 5 days. So okay. I spent a few hours on an afternoon shooting content for the whole week.
For the whole week.
That is no longer possible.
Why isn't that possible? How long does it take you to do your reels now?
Now I shoot content when the light is good.
Sure.
Miami
it's all
has
natural
tinted
light.
windows,
sure.
but these cause me a little bit of struggle. So I have to wait for the good lighting, the natural lighting, or you shoot outdoors, but that was never my thing. I was always in my room. I spent hours in my closet, and then I just took people along what's happening in there. So now it's like I shoot, and then the sun goes down, and then it's dinner time, and then I should edit the content after dinner to post it the next day. And I just struggle with that.
But you struggle with it now?
Yeah.
Okay. But you seem to be getting it done. Like, how frequently are you posting now?
I'm trying to post 5 times a week.
That's a lot. That's a lot. And is this your full-time job? Is creating content? But then you also got the jewelry company.
Yes, I also have the jewelry company.
Sure.
I think now that my husband joined the jewelry company a little over a year ago, it's become more prominent, and it's become more important to spend my time in that business as well.
As opposed to more time creating content.
Yeah. So I'm sharing, my attention gets shared between those two businesses.
That makes sense. But so in your business now, what is your personal brand driving a lot of the sales?
Funny enough, it's not necessarily a natural conversion for me. I'm integrating my jewelry in my daily outfits and posts, but it's not that I built this page to sell the jewelry to my audience. They were always separate businesses, and I would love to incorporate a bit more jewelry content into my regular content.
Let's go. Right. I don't want to necessarily dive into the jewelry company yet. I want to talk about that in a bit. I want to go back and really talk about your content and your growth. So, but I want to get to the jewelry company, because that's it's an amazing way that you're monetizing, even though you may not think, or maybe you don't see like a direct connection into monetization from your personal brand to the jewelry company. But I'm going to challenge that a little bit afterwards, and we can chat about that some more. But in terms of your content and in terms of the way that you've been structuring it, so now you're creating these reels on a regular basis. What I'm most impressed with is the fact that, and as I mentioned on the outset of this episode, is that you don't seem to me like someone who, you're not chasing virality. Like, you're not trying to go viral on every post. Although a lot of your posts do over-index and you get hundreds of thousands and 1 million plus views, which is great, but you're doing it through this consistency. Usually the mindset of a creator is they need to get views at all costs every single day, and every piece of content they're doing is they're just trying to get views no matter what. You seem to through your content, the way I see it, and I'd love to hear what you believe to be the case, and what the reality is that you seem to be motivated to really provide value, which is what people, in my opinion, should be doing, but not all people do, because they need that like daily hit of getting a lot of views. What is your motivation on every piece of content? Because it's not maximum views, or I don't think it is. What's your motivation? What are you trying to accomplish in every piece of content?
I think I want to share my values that I personally have for myself growing up in Switzerland, a country where people are more aware of their environment. I feel like compared to other countries that are very much led by consumerism, like the US.
Switzerland is less led by consumerism.
Is slower. Yes, everything is slower. We don't have Amazon.
Really?
We don't have it.
Do you have a comparable?
We have Amazon that maybe they ship from Germany, but I don't know. There's no Amazon. There's no same day delivery.
Okay.
The stores are closed on Sundays. The value there is to just slow down and focus on what's important to you, what brings you the most value. And I think the content space, especially in fashion, it's so crowded, it's so fast living, that I just want to share what I love and what works for me for many seasons, many years, not just for a haul.
But the counter, you're very much the counter thesis of modern content creation, whereas this slow approach that you have is actually building scale. And I like to be like, when I look at what you're doing, what you're doing proves out. I mean, my hypothesis about content creation is that you have to be doing it for the long run. And most of the creators that I speak with, their concerns that they're voicing to me are all about short-term results. And I see that they're not doing what you're doing. Everything is, they're inconsistent in terms of like when they post, how much they're posting, their formats, they're all over the place. I saw a new phrase that I've been kind of using it as it's called I call it a lifestyle soup. And when you look at their content, there's just no structure to it. There's nothing for an audience member to dig into, to like say, okay, I understand that on a regular basis, I'm going to be getting this format and I'm going to be getting it this value in this way. And people start becoming accustomed on how to digest it. But for you, I find it fascinating is that because you come, and now that you've explained the culture, the Swiss culture to me a little more, is that it is more based on slow living. It sounds like it's just organically based on providing value over a long period of time. And I think it's so evident in your culture based on like the watch industry, right? These are manufacturers who are over 100 years old and they move at a slower pace. And so now I'm putting it together. It makes a lot of sense to me. Like when I look at Patek and I look at Rolex as an example of Swiss culture, they're not iterating their designs like every month or even every year. Like certain models of watches have been the same over the last like 50 years with minor evolutions. And I feel like the Swiss culture, it's very much inside of you, like the way that you do your content, where it's this like slow, it's quality, it's intentional, and it's this slow iteration over time. And I think that's probably part of your success. And people have like locked in on that for the last 6 years.
Yeah, it's kind of sharing what you value personally, finding out your personal style, your personal preferences, which, you know, not every person has to have the same ones as I do. I just want to share what I love.
But how do you have the patience? Like, how do you have the patience to do this? Because I can imagine in the beginning, did most of your growth come recently, or has it been like steady growth over the last 6 years?
I think it's been exponential.
Lately. At one point, did it do this?
I would say after maybe a year of constant posting, I was at like maybe 50K followers. And I already found out way earlier that this is a trend that people want to jump on. They want to know what I'm posting next.
Right.
And they also saw a feed with many different outfits. And if you like one of my outfits, you're also going to like the 10 next ones that I'm going to post, because they are so true to my personal style. And those are the outfits that make it easy for me to get dressed in the morning. And that's why, looking at the feedback I get from my audience, which is constant, they always tell me, hey, when I get up in the morning, I go to your account and I check your latest outfits.
That's so rewarding, right?
And I get dressed, you know.
Yeah.
You inspired me to go back and look at my blazers and style them in different ways. You inspired me to dress them down with a sneaker. You inspired me to do, you know, to style a sweater over the blazer. Of course, I get inspired as well by other creators and Pinterest. I mean, endless inspiration there, right?
I have a question for you. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm excited. I'm excited to dive into this. How do you not get when you see something taking off? Like, let's say you're on TikTok and you see a piece of content that someone's made that is either an overall trend on TikTok or has done extremely well for one particular creator. How are you not tempted to look at that and say, you know what, if I do that, then I think it'll also get a large amount of views, because I'm not really seeing a lot of that in your content. So how do you avoid the temptation and not go off course and stick with, you know, your format that you've been doing for 6 years?
I think maybe it comes down to being a person that has been always extremely true to myself.
And disciplined, it sounds like.
Disciplined, yeah. Yes. I consider myself disciplined, and I also feel that I have a lot of ambitions, and I don't want to make the noise out there push me off of what my vision is. Putting quality over quantity, because that's what's lasting in your wardrobe. That's what you don't have to exchange every season, which then leads to sustainability, not having to replace the same piece of clothing every season because it broke, and yeah.
So you're like very dedicated to your craft.
I'm
You're
very
dedicated to your format.
To my values as well, how I grew up. You know, if something's broken, you fix it.
Yeah,
You're not buying a new one.
Right.
That's not the first thing that I was taught by my parents to go for. I was, I'm fixing it. I learned how to sew in school. We did woodwork. We learned how to cook in school. That's all things that I never heard anyone having.
Let me ask you, how do you optimize? So, I mean, again, you continue to experience this very organic growth, based on you really sticking to your format and you sticking to your your ideology around content. Have you had times throughout the last 6 years where you said to yourself, okay, like I want to grow faster, or does that never enter your mind? Is like speed of growth something that you consider when it comes to your audience size?
Yeah, I mean, it constantly is on my mind.
Right.
Like I want to pass this 500,000 mark.
Right.
I want to reach 1 million at
No, for sure. But then my question to you is, what do you do? Because let's say, for example, when you ask me, like, what do I do and what does Valeria do? Part of our content mix, a small percentage, 5-10% of it, is these trends or viral concepts, either that we originate ourselves or that we get inspiration from. And we do that in order to achieve growth. But I don't believe I'm seeing you do it. So I'd love to know from you, like, what is your lever that you pull when you're like, I need to grow more in the short term?
I think it's always around providing value for my audience in my niche.
Right.
For example, I posted a video about our wedding, my husband and I, my wedding in Switzerland, which is a very short moment of an emotional look and a kiss out of passion and super romantic music by Lana Del Rey. Thank you for that.
Yes.
And then it went completely viral, 20 million views.
Wow.
Over 3,000 comments. Good ones and bad ones.
Did you experience? I mean, on 20 million views, did you get a lot of follower growth?
No, nothing.
No follower.
I mean, I did get a little influx of growth, but you know what happened? These people were not engaging with my usual content because they were not interested in my daily outfits or the fashion content or the sustainability mindset.
So where did most of your growth come from? From like, if we're just talking about follower growth, where would you say that came from?
I obviously looked at my analytics all the time, and I think up until about a year and a half ago, my growth was just, it's always been organic, but it was from the Explore page. So from people that saw, oh, this outfit I like. Oh, she has like 10 or 20 other outfits that I like. And I see the amount of saves on my post is insane. Now, they show the share button. Yeah. But they don't show the save button. So I would love for Instagram to show that save button. You just said something crazy.
You just said something that's really important. You had a video with 20 million views.
Yeah.
That single video didn't move the needle for you. However, 6 years of consistent, I would say, like moderate amount of views on every single video and moderate amount of engagement, that grew tremendously. And that really goes to show, like, again, like you're the antithesis in the best way possible of not chasing virality and achieving growth through systematic consistency and sticking to your principles over a long period of time. So I commend you on that. But it's interesting that it's just really interesting that one video with 20 million didn't contribute to your growth, because a lot of creators on a video with 20 million, they would gain 10, 15, 20,000 followers. You're saying that those people didn't convert into followers for you, which is understandable. And even if they did, they probably dropped off afterwards. But it's that slow, consistent growth of building a real, authentic audience. And now what the result is, have you ever seen like an account with, let's say, as many followers as you have, let's say 500,000, right? And when you look at the videos and you look at the engagement, it's very low. Like it's very low. They have like only a couple of thousand views per video, very low likes, very low comments, save, shares. The reason for that is because a lot of those followers came in off of those videos those handful of videos that got tens of millions of views over the course of a long period of time. But then what happens is when those people follow, it's not necessarily a good thing because those people then don't engage. Whereas if you're building something out slowly and intentionally over time, you're bringing in real like followers, people who are really engaged and who want to stick with you for the long run. So that's amazing. When did you start your business? When did you start the jewelry, and why did you start the jewelry?
The jewelry business, actually, I started 2 businesses. The first jewelry business I started in Switzerland, and that was when I was in law school. And I just made jewelry with my hands. Handmade jewelry. I was beading jewelry.
Sorry, your law degree, what did you specialize in? Did you ever practice?
I never practiced so I went to law school. I loved it. No math.
In Switzerland? No math?
No math.
In Switzerland, you went to law school?
In Switzerland,
okay.
Yes. I studied at the University of Zurich. And I went to law school because I wanted to have a foundation for myself that was giving me peace of mind, because I love studying. I love academics. I mean, I'm a good academic. I passed every exam, almost everyone, first try. But good. I'm not the best, like grade-wise. But I finished my master's in 4.5 years.
Wow.
So, yeah, I kind of flew through law school.
Okay.
While also having enough time to build a business. And so
that was the jewelry business that you started in law school.
That was the jewelry business, exactly.
And that was before you met your husband.
That was before. Well, I met my husband when I was about to finish my bachelor degree.
Okay.
So we were already, he was coming to Zurich for a project. So we met in Zurich at a local nightclub.
Nice.
Yeah.
And
I was at a student
and I met
party.
Eduardo. He's over here. But Eduardo, I know he's Brazilian, but is Eduardo American?
He's also American.
He's also American. Yeah. So when you met him, he was already in America for a long time.
So
he was an American. Like when you met him, he's my American boyfriend, not my Brazilian boyfriend.
No, actually, I think he identifies fully as Brazilian,
does he?
But also, loves the U.S.
Amazing.
And living here, obviously.
Okay, so you met him, and you were finishing up your bachelor's degree.
Yeah, I finished my bachelor's degree, and we were starting to date long distance after we met, and 3 years in, I decided to move after graduating. I really wanted to stay in law school because I wanted that master's degree. I wanted to have a foundation to go back to if, nothing sticks, sure. Right? But I had great success in Switzerland with my jewelry brand. So I actually...
Is it this, and it's the same jewelry brand, LaNaia?
LaNaia Jewels is the
Let me see it.
brand.
Can I see it? I'm assuming you're wearing it.
Here I have
very dainty.
Dainty pieces that are mix and matchable. So you can layer them, you can stack them.
Oh, these are your bracelets too?
These are the best-selling bracelets, our friendship bracelets with a clover symbol.
What is the material?
It's mother of pearl.
Mother of pearl. That's what I meant.
And it has an adjustable clasp.
Beautiful.
And this is with a river stone. I also have freshwater pearls, diamonds, and 14-karat solid gold.
I really like the color schemes. Like I like the neutral tones. It's very nice. I've never seen tones like this.
It's easy to wear. Yeah. And that's part of my philosophy about
and it goes really well
and outfits.
With your blazer, and it goes really well with your sweater.
Thank you.
As if it was planned that way.
Yeah, it's funny because I wear these every day and they work with all of my outfits.
Amazing. Beautiful.
So it's part of the philosophy, right?
Amazing.
Building something
and I can see that you are a hand model. You've got exquisite hands. Look at that. I've never seen hands so beautiful. Good for you.
Thank you.
How long were you? No, I'm blown away. I've never really considered this, but there are people who do this for a living.
Yeah,
and
it's actually a thing.
It's actually a thing.
Models,
so
hand modeling.
Can I share something with you? I was so self-conscious, and it's interesting that we're talking about hand modeling. So today I actually modeled, believe it or not, but I'm not a professional. My wife is a different story. So my wife called me in it's actually a jewelry brand as well, and they put a ring on me. Not this stuff. This is my stuff. They put a ring on me. They put 2 bracelets on me. They stacked it, and they were doing close-ups of my hand. They did like general shots, like me and Valeria, and then they did close-ups of my hand in studio. And I was so self-conscious, and I started looking because they'll take the shot, and then there'll be an assistant with an iPad, and then it'll go from the camera to the iPad directly. Yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Have you ever seen this technology? I saw it today for the first time.
I think so.
So somebody with a camera takes the shot, and then there's an assistant who's walking around and wirelessly the photograph goes from the camera to the iPad wirelessly, and then the person with the iPad can then show it to you, so you can change how you're posing, you can change all this stuff, right? And so they showed it to me, and I was like, oh, my hands are terrible. Like they're gonna have to retouch all of this. So there's probably like a regiment, and you probably still do a lot of hand modeling for your own brand, right?
Yeah.
Right. So when you so I mean, it's probably a whole regiment. I don't mean to get too personal about it, but like it's probably a whole regiment, and like in terms of how you take care of your hands. Yeah. Like I understand how people take care of their bodies. Like how do you keep your hands? Sorry to go off topic here, but how do you keep your hands in such like pristine order in order to be a hand model for your own jewelry brand?
So I don't.
It's just natural. Some people are just gifted, right?
No, that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that I pick a day where I do my nails and then I shoot that same day.
But are there like push-ups you can do with your hands? No, I'm just joking.
No,
I'm kidding. But like think about it. You have to have like the muscle tone and everything, right?
No, if your hands are not naturally well shaped, which a lot of hands are not.
You don't have to tell me.
I see a lot of hands because every year I go to the Christmas market to sell jewelry, and our best-selling product is rings. So I see so many hands, and trust me, not every hand I think is good for
I have a very deep and profound question for you.
Yeah.
Are you trying to tell me that hand models are born and not created? Like they're born. You have to be born with genetically superior hands.
I think hand or part models have to have this part that works for many brands, which most brands are looking for hands that could be female or male. So they cannot be too skinny or too small or too wide or too big or wide fingers.
Hold on, you're blowing my mind. So you're telling me that a brand...
I worked with Apple, I worked with McDonald's.
And they
did not want a female hand. They wanted a hand that could look either or.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm sorry. I don't mean to derail this conversation.
No, my hand definitely doesn't look like a male
hand. No, well, your
hand
looks, you're very feminine hands,
right? I have long fingers.
But hold on a second. No, I have to ask this question. So you're telling me that the brands, they're looking for hands that aren't specific to any gender. Why? Because they want to be able to instead of hiring two different models, they want to be able to have one person? Or is it because they don't want to be biased to one gender or another? Like Apple doesn't want it to look like... They don't want to
be biased. Like there's not more women or more men that are using iPhones or iPads, right?
Look, if I may give you a suggestion about your content, as disciplined as you are, as precisely Swiss as you are, I just want to make a suggestion here. But if you were to talk, because the fact that I'm fascinated by this and you talking about this now, I just think there might be an appetite out for the general audience. So if you were to make any kind of like content around hand modeling and like letting people into this industry, I think you might have something. Maybe just once a month, maybe put out a video about like, your experiences with hand modeling. I think there could be something there. It would be interesting for me, because there's something to it. Anyway, something for you to consider.
There's just a few rules that you need to, be okay with.
Right.
Not having any artificial acrylic nails.
Well, that's logical.
Number one.
Right.
Your nails have to be natural. And then depending on the client, they want you to put a clear polish or no polish.
But like, how about your skin? Like, do you have to moisturize all the time?
Yeah.
Is it?
I mean, not all the time, but before shooting, it's good to have a moisturizer that dries fast, but moisturizes the skin because,
I have to ask, how does one get into hand modeling? Like, is this, sorry, I hope you don't mind us talking about this. I'm just fascinated by it.
I was with a commercial modeling agency that does a lot of commercials, and it's called,
but not for hand modeling.
People models.
No, I understand. But you weren't with a modeling, like a hand modeling agency. You were with a modeling agency.
I was with a regular modeling agency, but every model had a portfolio where they only show the hands, because there is a market for hand models. There's a market for foot models.
For foot models too.
Yeah, of course.
That's an industry. Foot models. An industry.
Foot models.
What are they advertising? What are they selling? It's just I understand with
shoes.
Well, but you can't see the feet if you have the shoes on though. Oh, unless they're open-toed shoes.
Yeah, open-toed.
So in your modeling agency, I hope you got Edouard. You don't mind me going on these topics, right? Because this is like I'm fascinated. So you're telling me in the modeling agency, somebody will pull you aside and say, "Listen, Nadia, we feel that you're going to be really big in the hand and foot modeling. So they pull aside the models, because my wife modeled for many years, and she never told me, somebody pulled me inside and said, you know what?
Yeah.
Your hands and feet, we got to go hard. Maybe she just wasn't naturally gifted, and that's probably the reason why.
Yeah, I mean, one of my biggest clients was a local Swiss brand that was selling homeware, like cookware.
And so
baking sheets,
Yeah.
Cleaning supplies. So they booked me all the time. I was basically on call. And the owner of the agency knew we have like one good hand model.
That's incredible. I saw
they are scarce.
I can imagine. I mean, to be genetically gifted with good hands is probably not an easy thing to do. When I was reading your bio and I was doing some research on you, I saw the hand modeling thing, but I guess I kind of glazed over it because I was like, whatever. I kind of moved on. But now that you're talking about it, it's fascinating. So for your jewelry company, for LaNaia, are you the exclusive hand model? I would assume you would be. Like, you wouldn't outsource that if you can do it yourself, right?
Yes. I mean, we did a photo shoot with different models, also with different skin colors, so that
sure. If you want to be inclusive, yeah.
Gold, especially yellow gold jewelry, looks just fantastic on my darker skin tone friends. Right. And then so I hired, most models are friends that I already know.
Amazing.
So I hired them and to just show variety. But how when you start a business, you need to bootstrap. You cannot just organize super expensive photo shoots all the time. So yes, that's how I started my business, by just posting stuff that I was wearing. And luckily my hands are not the ugliest one.
So and now, how often are you doing photo shoots for your product lines?
Actually, content every week, but
for the not for social lines, not for social content, for like e-com content.
E-com we do 4 times a year, because we don't have
seasons.
We don't have a lot of changing collections. We have our hero pieces, and those we have to shoot in different for different contexts again, for advertising, for
And do you participate in everyone? Are you one of the models in every shoot? Those 3-4 times a year?
So far, yes.
You should stick with that. That's great.
Yeah, I just love it. I want to also be part of the brand.
Absolutely.
Because I create jewelry that I want to wear. And when I create the next piece, when I design the next piece, it's always, what do I want to wear next?
Sure.
And what do I don't find on the market? Or how can I make it better?
Right.
Yeah, I'm thinking about a tennis bracelet.
And do you include this content? Like, do you have behind the scenes? Like, do you have BTS of these shoots that you put up? Do you put it on your social media or the jewelry brand, or both?
Jewelry and both, yes. I do a lot of collaborative posts where I shoot behind the scene content for the photo shoot, and then I also share it with my personal account.
Amazing.
So people see that I'm not just the girl in the mirror.
Right.
I'm also doing that.
Absolutely.
Going to these events,
Absolutely.
Working with X brands.
You mentioned earlier that you don't feel that there's a direct relation between your personal brand and social media and driving sales to your jewelry brand. Why do you believe that to be the case?
I think that's one of probably my limiting beliefs, that I think people are not there to buy my jewelry. But it's not true. Because we buy jewelry because it's an emotional purchase.
But how are you, right? But okay, so this gets into a little bit of a technical kind of conversation, like the concept of attribution. And what I mean by that is, like, when you attribute sales to like a certain channel, like a certain marketing channel, right? And so for you, are most of your sales happening on your own website? It's like you're direct to consumer, or are you in retailers?
We are in a retailer in New York, but I think most sales happen direct to consumer
on your
either
website,
over our website, through an ad, or through people that have purchased from us before, returning customers, and then in-person events.
Got it. So I would say that a lot of your sales, if not most of your sales, can't be attributed, because probably in your Google Analytics on your website, most of the traffic, or at least like a fair amount of the traffic, you don't know the origin. It's probably direct. So then I would argue that you're likely getting a lot of that direct traffic out of the branding and awareness that you're building through your social media as you being the owner of the brand. So I think that to your point, I think it is a lot of the times a limiting belief. But I can tell you now with like my experience, like we've probably done about $25 million worth of brand advertising specifically just through Valeria alone. And the brands, they don't necessarily attribute, and this is a direct kind of comparison to what you're doing, because the brands, they don't know that it came from Valeria. And in general, brand marketing they're very different than performance marketing. So you're looking at distribution, you're trying to attach like direct attribution as a performance model to the sales that you're doing. But in reality, you're reaching so many people with your personal brand through your content on the personal brand side. They understand that you are the owner of this company. You're featuring your jewelry in your content. Is the jewelry company in your link in bio on your personal page?
Yeah.
Okay. So on Google Analytics, are you able to track that link, or is it likely showing direct?
I can track the link.
Do you see what
I also have the jewelry in the shop, in the Instagram shop.
In the Instagram shop.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're getting that attribution,
Yeah.
you know that. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, if you look at your content, let's say, I'll take a guess, and let's say you've got, in the last 30 days, you've reached between 8 to 12 million people. That's my guess. Okay. Out of those 8 to 12 million people, they may not convert today, but over time they are going to convert. So I guess what I would argue is that if you continue building your personal brand and you continue strategically integrating the jewelry brand, because you've got such a nice way to do it through your content, and you could probably come up with some concepts or additional concepts that really show the jewelry more in the context of your outfits. You're doing it now, but maybe you could get even closer to it, like visually closer. I just believe that continuing to grow your account, that's going to continue fueling sales for for the jewelry company. So I definitely wouldn't discount it.
Yeah. No, I like to, when I'm done with my, outfit shot, I like to do detail shots. And it's always going to be my jewelry in it as well.
You may want to consider doing it in the beginning, just to experiment with it, if you don't mind the advice.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You may want to consider doing it in the beginning, or I would even consider, if part of your your goals, which I'd like to know, like if you can confirm, is to grow the jewelry brand even more. And so that being the case, like you may want to have content, if you don't already, that's exclusively about jewelry, and leading with the jewelry and how the jewelry complements your skin tone, how it complements your outfit, how it whatever it is, how to choose jewelry for the day, how to choose jewelry based on an occasion. I just think that there's a lot of content that you could make in an editorial style, even like in lists, like the top 5 reasons to wear gold today, or whatever it may be. I mean, you
invest in gold today. I mean, we have all seen it.
Sure,
it's
absolutely.
Not a bad investment.
Yes, absolutely. So where are you stuck right now? Is there anything I can help you with in terms of like helping you grow your personal brand numbers?
Yeah. So what I'm struggling with are a couple things. One is I have an Instagram account for my jewelry business where I feel like I would love to incorporate your advice already by sharing more on camera about specific jewelry pieces and what's the meaning behind them, how to combine, how to, style stacking rings, layer necklaces, maybe also personalize a family pendant necklace or the loved one's necklace, where you can personalize a circle of love with the birthstones of your family members. It's a very beautiful, sentimental piece. So that I want to focus a little bit more and showing up on camera with my face on camera, talking to people directly.
I agree that you should be doing that more,
Yeah, I want to do that. And so how can I keep up with creating content for 2 different pages while also running a jewelry brand and soon becoming a mother?
Yes.
I know you've done all of that already.
We keep doing it. It's not that we've done it. It's a lifestyle for us. So
exactly.
But it comes with its own kind of set of challenges too, right?
It does, yeah.
We get stressed. We get burnt out a lot.
Oh yeah, and especially when the hormones now.
I understand. I understand you.
I'm 8 months pregnant, so it's my hormones are crazy.
I know.
And yeah.
Okay, so a couple of things.
Yeah.
I have a couple of things. Okay, some of it's going to be personal, but it's all connected to business, because this has been my experience over the last 9 years working with Valeria. So when Valeria started as a content creator in 2026, Valeria, we already had 2 kids. And then our third son was literally born online. Like, there's a video out there with over 3 million views of his birth. So, we were like literally in it, Valeria never took a break. So after Max was born, Valeria continued creating content. We were doing a lot of family vlogs. She kept doing her editorials. We already had a team on the monetization side helping us there. I was working a lot. So I think the first thing and Valeria regrets it. Like, if you ask her now, she's like, I wish I would have taken a break. And she didn't. I guess the first thing I'll tell you is, like, don't be so hard on yourself. It may sound like obvious advice, but I feel like a lot of women, especially women in business, I don't know how, like, I want to say this in the correct way. Like, they're trying to behave like men, because a lot of men don't take paternity leave, but men are also not physically giving birth and then having to care for a child, in those early years. And so I think a lot of women, especially like type A women who are, either executives or entrepreneurs, they put themselves under this unrealistic stress of having to do it all and having to, perform like a man, even right after the baby's born. So I think that's kind of the first thing you should, give yourself some grace with. The second thing is, and this is something that Valeria and I to this day, we have, challenges with, and we're really working it out. And I'm just being very transparent with you about our life and our personal and business life, is that as an entrepreneur, Valeria has a hard time letting go of things. And even though she's got, we've got this meaningfully sized team, and we've got me, she keeps inserting herself into parts of the business that I would argue that she probably shouldn't. Things that are like deeply operational, analytical, statistical. She's in meetings she shouldn't be in on. And so when you ask, how do you balance this off? One of the benefits that you have is you've got Eduardo, who's your partner, who's your husband and your business partner, and you got to let him do stuff too. And look, you and I don't know each other personally, but if you're anything like my wife wants to be involved. Like, it's not enough for her that I'm taking care of something. Yeah. She's gotten a lot better. And what I always said to Valeria, and I'll say this for you, and so Eduardo can hear this as well, is that if Eduardo's running the business, and let's say he's running it with you, you guys can hire people to do a lot of different things. You can't hire people to do what you do, though. That's the thing. So when you look at a simple analysis of your time and where you should be putting your time, you should be putting your time into things that move the business forward, and you can't hire someone else to do. Creating content both on your personal brand page and also to a certain extent on the jewelry brands page, you can't hire somebody to be you in your content, to show up as you. So, iterating and creating concepts that continue to grow your social media, not only in terms of the numbers, but also continue to grow your personal brand qualitatively, which you've done amazingly, only you can do. So instead of you being in a logistics meeting, in a meeting about warehousing, in a meeting about reverse logistics, customer service, you're smiling because you're in those meetings, right? Am I right? Is she in those meetings? Yeah, Eduardo. Yeah, she's in those meetings.
See what's going on, and I'm like, we have to do this.
No, I know, but then you have to make a decision. So again, if I don't get too personal, if I apologize if I do, you've literally trusted this man to marry him and have a child. So you can trust him in a meeting about customer service, right? Thank you. I'm getting a thumbs up from Eduardo. I've said something smart.
He's doing so well. Like, he's much better at customer service. I'm so emotionally attached to my craft that I get offended if someone doesn't want to keep the jewelry. I
know. I understand you more than you know. I really, really do. I understand you from two perspectives. One is that when I was a younger entrepreneur, I often took things way too personally about the business. I still do, but I'm not as bad at it. The other thing is I've just observed a very relentless, high-performing woman, which is my wife, over the last 9 years, since she went from, the age of 26 when we started this and really blooming into an entrepreneur. And now the biggest strength that she has, and that I hope for you to develop, is understanding what she shouldn't be involved in. That's the biggest thing. Like, for me, honestly, like, I'm bad at most things. There are a few things that I'm good at, that I believe I'm good at, that I've self-proclaimed myself to be good at. And the things that I'm not good at, I've hired for. And there's another piece to it. And this is something I'm only now getting better at. I used to think that when I'd hire someone, I can just quickly, and now Ariel is going to smile because we talk about this often. Hopefully she's going to smile. She's like deep in work over there. What happens is I will delegate something to someone and I'll think it's just so easy. I'll just blurt it out and assume they can fill in all the gaps and figure it out themselves. And then I get upset if they don't. And they haven't done anything wrong. I haven't sufficiently communicated to them. So here's my suggestion to you. My suggestion to you is if you trusted this man to have babies with, you should trust him to run the stuff that you shouldn't be involved in. If you want things done a certain way in your business, honestly, go to ChatGPT, describe it in detail to ChatGPT, and ask ChatGPT to write an email to Eduardo, documenting exactly so that he has exactly what your vision is and all of the details involved, and not just verbally saying it like I've been doing. And now I'm trying to make that change and improve how I operate a business. So I guess I'm sorry to be so long-winded about it, but what I'm trying to tell you is trust your husband as your business partner, trust the people who you've employed, and be more descriptive in how you delegate and how you train them on the things that you shouldn't be doing. And then with that time that you have, really put yourself into the content. Like go away and make content. Like that's really where you're going to drive the business forward, is by being the face of the company. You also mentioned something. I'm sorry I'm doing all the talking. I apologize, but I'll stop in a second.
No, go ahead.
You mentioned that you want to show up more in your content. I agree.
Yeah, I should want to show more of my personality because
Absolutely.
I feel like people have a certain image or no image at all. It's so funny. I have a good friend, and her friend that I didn't know is following me.
Yeah.
And then she visited Miami. We posted a picture in my story together. And then her friend was like, oh my God, you know, LaNaia. Like, how is she? Is she nice? And I'm like, guys, I need to show up more because this shouldn't be a question.
You're right. No, but you're right. Like it was hard for me to get a read.
Yeah.
When I was looking at your content, I couldn't get a read. Right.
Yeah.
So, but it's a good thing. Like, I want you to take this as a positive thing. That means you have a massive opportunity. If you are able to create the scale in your personal brand that you have without doing this, imagine the next evolution of your personal brand where you start showing up more. And I want to say to you, like, I don't want you to feel like pressure to overshare. Right. That's the thing too, is a lot of creators think that in order for me to grow, I have to just like tell everybody my entire life. You really don't. Like, for as much as people know about Valeria and to a smaller degree me, we still feel like completely private people. Like when we're in our house, we just feel like nobody knows who we are. When we go out, we're still surprised to this day when people come up and say, hey, I'm an admirer of your work. Like we're still surprised by it. My point is that we have edit and so do you. So don't feel like you have to overshare. You don't have to. Share whatever you feel comfortable with sharing. And as time goes by, you're going to see like what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with. So don't worry about it. Like I don't want you to feel any kind of pressure, especially now that you're having a baby. Like don't put this additional stress on your head. So when you say you want to show up more, show up the way you want. Like not even Eduardo can tell you what to do with that. Like that's you. Like you have to decide what's okay to talk about and what's not okay to talk about. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's your next evolution, is showing up more and talking to the camera.
Yes, talking to the camera, talking about something that is going on in my life. Like, even if it's about making a decision which shoes to buy, people want to know.
Absolutely.
My thoughts. Why do I decide to go with this pair, not with that pair? And it's very simple, but it's already a small value that's provided by sharing more than just the picture of the finished look.
I agree with you. I want to suggest to you, if you feel comfortable with it, talk more about what's going on in your business. Like take people for that, especially women, because it's such a movement right now where, you know, women have been entrepreneurs forever and arguably better than men, but there's now we're seeing it, and we're seeing it across all of these different personal brands where women are talking about the challenges that they're having, you know, in their businesses. So I would suggest you do that. And furthermore, like Valeria's next iteration and what she's starting to talk about now is her experience as an entrepreneur and what's going on in the business. And, you know, I'm very supportive of that. So think about that too. So it's not only, but still do the stuff about your shoes. That's
Yeah.
also important.
Exactly.
Yeah. I recently did a podcast with our son, with our middle kid. His name is Ben. He was sitting in the same chair you're sitting in now. And the reason I did that, and I think this would be a good resource for you too. The reason I did that is because we get asked a lot of questions, and in general, I think people are curious as to like what happens to a child who grows up in this environment. Our children, like your child who's coming now, won't know any other life except that, you know, mom's doing this job and mom is creating content and mom has this large audience, and that's going to be that child's life. So I interviewed Ben for over an hour and I talked about his experience, and now he's old enough to really like look back at the last 7 years since he can remember, and to talk about his experience. So I suggest going through that because that'll give you a nice perspective, and that might calm you down in terms of like how children see this and the effect that this has on children. So that's the thing. But look, in terms of balancing, and I gave you this like super long-winded answer, but in terms of balancing the volume of work, trust your partner, trust your staff, delegate more, improve the communication of that delegation. So when you delegate things, really use ChatGPT to get into detail of exactly how you want things done, and then let go. Letting go is going to be like, that's going to be like, you know, like Nadia, like 2.0 evolution is learning how to let go after you've correctly delegated.
Yeah.
And you'll get through it.
That's very helpful because I feel personally sometimes a little overwhelmed working with other people. Like I'm working with virtual assistants now,
Right.
And we work with manufacturers. We work with people that come to my house to help me make more bracelets.
Yeah.
And I just realized how hard it is to teach somebody something that you've been doing for years.
Of course.
Not everyone, you know, people are not me, right?
No, I know, but you have to, as an entrepreneur,
to communicate in a way that is efficient, and that doesn't make me emotionally, getting to my limits. Because if I think about hiring people, I need them to help me take work off my plate.
Absolutely.
But then when you need to manage those people, that's again something else.
I know exactly what you're saying, and it's not an easy thing to do. Mm-hmm. I think that a lot of entrepreneurs believe that if you simply hire someone and then that person, you can give them minimal instructions and tell them just go and do this and they'll be able to do it. Where I find that I need to improve the most is really taking my time to provide that instruction. And again, I'll go back to ChatGPT. Even like the way you assemble jewelry, I'm telling you, if you go to sit down and spend a couple of hours with ChatGPT and actually even take photos of like the steps that you take in order to put the jewelry together and then verbally describe to ChatGPT every step, ChatGPT will come up with a handbook on how to make, piece number 1, piece number 2, you'll be surprised. And that's systemizing. That's going to help you so much because when someone comes in, you print this out, you have the document for them, you show them once or twice, and then you let them go. But what you're likely doing now is you're showing them, you're expecting them to like remember. They're not taking notes. They're just going by memory. So of course they're going to mess it up. Try doing this because this hour that you'll spend creating handbooks, the beautiful part about this, and I think most people don't understand that with a tool like ChatGPT, a year and a half ago, I was doing all this stuff manually. So our business as a whole has improved dramatically because now I'm operating from that perspective where I'm creating processes and I'm creating these kind of like handbooks and instructions using these tools. That's, I think, a really effective way, to help with this. But you got to be kind to yourself. I think that's the big thing. Like you're about to have a baby. Just remember that, right?
I think we are maybe if we are ambitious people, we all want everything
of course
happening, ideally tomorrow. But I also want to be along for the journey and not just having everything happening overnight.
No, of course. Look, the other thing I'll tell you, and maybe you can get the benefit of what I consider to be not so much my mistakes, but my realizations, is that, from an early age, especially from the early stages of being an entrepreneur, I was in survival mode and I was constantly stressed. Okay. And this was even the case, especially the case after we had our first kid. It was the case after we had our second kid. And quite frankly, only recently in the last couple of years, I started feeling a little easier about it and saying, you know what, there's a plan for me. Like we'll be okay. Everything will be fine. Once you have a child, you don't want to miss it by being so busy in your entrepreneurial life. That's why I go back to the creation of these systems and the correct delegation, because if you really do create systems and delegate correctly, you will have those times with your kid. You will be able to, say, okay, it's 5 o'clock or 5:30, I'm done. Now is the time with my child. And a lot of entrepreneurs, they'll work, myself included. Like I'll work past that time and then I won't have time with my kids. And then I find that now, like my eldest is almost 13 years old and I have gaps. Like there's gaps. Like I feel there's missing connections that I'm missing connections with him that I have with my 7-year-old because I was more conscious about it. So if I can just give you advice from one parent and a soon-to-be parent, is make sure you put the systems in place so your business doesn't fall and it continues to progress, but at the same time that you have that time with your child.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to get too personal. I know this was...
I think my husband and I will have a great opportunity to just be there and be present.
Absolutely.
Because we both work from home.
That helps.
We're going to have our baby and, we're going to enjoy our baby while being able to make sure things don't burn down.
No, things won't burn down. Things won't burn down. But I'm excited for you. I remember, with each baby how it was. Sorry, I don't mean to get too personal. Okay, I got a thumbs up. I can tell you that Valeria, when Jake was born, who's our eldest, she was super stressed for the first 3 months. And then she realized afterwards, it's like, I shouldn't have been so stressed. So I'm just trying to tell you to take it easy. Things aren't, they're not as, I think I was a lot calmer, but I mean, it's easy for me because I'm the man. I was a lot calmer when Jake was 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months old. But yeah, if it, for what it's worth, Valeria looks back and says, a lot of that was unnecessary. So that stress that she was going through. But I'm super excited for you. Is there any other questions I can answer?
There has been a period now for a little bit that the growth wasn't really happening.
Mm-hmm.
It was more linear.
Yep, I understand.
Like
it stopped or it was completely flat. There was no growth.
Engagement is there.
Yeah.
But it's not like a growth.
New followers.
New followers.
More views every month.
And there is a connection to my content not being shown as it was before automatically on Facebook. Because when I went through my analytics, I saw that so many views came from Facebook. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of views are just Instagram and no longer Facebook.
Sure.
Now, what would you say in terms of content strategy? Should I just continue doing what I've been always doing? Because as you said that I'm not a haul person.
No, I get it.
Virals.
I get it. The answer is yes and no. The answer is yes and no. I believe that you should continue doing what's traditionally worked. Mm-hmm. Certain formats that you have that are on a decline, what I would do is I would change one small thing at a time. So it might be that the audience needs to, you need to move on from the background that you have, maybe change the lighting a little, mm-hmm. Change the style, change the pacing, there are a number of different things, and you can make those analysis on your own. By changing one thing at a time, if you change multiple things, then what's going to happen is you won't know what it was that created the improvement, let's say in views. So by changing one thing systematically and then let's say I have this key format that I do and you've identified 10 elements, lighting, wardrobe, whatever it may be. You write down those 10 elements and you say, okay, I'm changing the first one. And then you make 10 pieces of content by changing that first element. You have to have 10 because then it becomes kind of statistically significant. You can't base it off of one. So even if one the first one after you made that first change, even if one underperforms, that doesn't mean that that's a bad change. Yeah. And if it overperforms, that doesn't mean you've discovered your next big thing. So do it 10 times and see what the trend is on the number of views. A week, give each one a week to accrue views, and then look at what that trend looks like. If that trend is going up, then you forget about the 9 other changes and you keep working on that. If it doesn't, if it stays flat on those 10, or if it's going down, or if there's no change in your current data, you go to the second element. Once you work through those 10 elements, chances are something's going to hit. Like chances are you're going to find what that one element was. And then once you have that, now you go from there. And I think that's a very methodical approach that you're used to doing. There's more radical things you can do. Like you can start doing trending content. You can identify like, trends and start doing those for the purpose of getting more attention to your account, and with the hopes that people who come in off of trends will follow you and start consuming your account, like the other content in your account. For you, because you're so systematic and you're so precise, I would suggest what I just said about those 10 things. But I want to tell you that reinvention, you are early enough in your career, 6 years in, but you're also far along enough that you're at a point where you haven't really had to reinvent yourself. But that time is inevitable. Like that will come where reinvention is absolutely necessary. And the example I always use, I need to find the new example because I feel it's getting stale, is I use Madonna. So you're younger than me. I don't know how much you know about Madonna, but Madonna was...
everybody knows know her songs.
Her songs, but like Madonna, I think is maybe 15 years or 20 years older than me. And so when I was, first starting listening to music, there was a song called Like a Virgin. You know the song? Have you ever heard of it?
Of course.
Oh, you have heard of it. Okay.
Yeah.
That was one of her earlier hits, right? But since then, if you look at her evolution in terms of her style, she continued to change throughout her career. And as a result, the song Like a Virgin, which was probably in like the mid 80s. You weren't even born, right? But you still know that song. The reason you still know that song is because right up until like even now, she's still relevant because she always stayed relevant. And so evolution for the sake of staying relevant is important. So if I were you, what I would do is I would be really studying, but not too much, what other fashion creators are doing and seeing what connects with you, and not for the purpose of copying and plagiarizing their work, but what can you get inspiration from? Maybe the inspiration will come from a camera angle or some kind of a cinematographic element, something that you're not considering, maybe incorporating music. And so doing that, I believe, is really important. Like just, you've been doing it one way for so long, and unlike the Swiss watch companies who can evolve very slowly because their industry, they don't have as many competitors, and their industry moves very slowly, and it's like the industry is a legacy industry, like horology. Content creation moves a lot faster, and so now you're in an environment where you're kind of forced to evolve a little. So just don't be scared of reinvention.
I have a whole folder on my account
wonderful. So
saved
you're already
with
there.
Content inspiration, especially reel inspiration, because reels, you can film a lot of content and then you're overwhelmed because you filmed so much content.
Right.
But if you structure your reel before, and the message you want to bring across and the visuals you want to take for the reel, it's better because you're more structured, and then you're not overwhelmed with the editing part.
Right.
So you're not even going to start editing that content because it's just overwhelming.
Yeah.
So structuring that and
yeah.
going back to that folder, because what resonated with me in that folder might resonate, or will most likely resonate, with my audience as well.
You have to test through it. But again, like, I just want to warn you with the testing is that a single piece of content is not a test. You have to commit to an extended amount of content. Otherwise, you're not, I remember when we first started pulling clips from Valeria's podcast and putting it into her main Instagram, it would grossly underperform. And Valeria would say, that's it. Nobody wants it. And I said, you did it once. I said, Valeria, it's not. Now they're starting to perform. They're still not like the same as viral fashion, but they never will be, right? And so now there's like, it's really driving her podcast forward. But again, like if the premise of a lot of content creators is initially like, oh, it didn't work the first 3 times, that means it doesn't work. That's not the case.
No, I just posted a reel about, I filmed my baby belly.
I saw.
And there was a little kick.
I saw the kick.
It's not my usual content, not at all.
It did well.
But I got inspired by another creator that posted this, and then Winnie the Pooh.
And I saw the Winnie the Pooh. I saw the Winnie the Pooh. It was the same reel. It was the same. Yeah, I saw
exactly. And then you know how I feel when I feel my girl's my baby girl's kicks. And then this is going viral. It's still being shared to other people's stories, sent to other people every day.
I'll tell you, when Valeria she did a whole pregnancy transformation on YouTube. It was a short video. It was only like, it was probably 3 or 4 minutes. It was with Maxie, with our youngest, who's 7 years old now. That video's been up for 8 years. It has like 150 million views.
Wow.
Which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You never know how long your content will be relevant for and performing for.
Of course. Look, it's also, it's taking creative risks too.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like I want you to stay in a safe zone where you're not disclosing too much because you feel that you have to. You don't compromise your privacy. Do whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
Nadia, thank you. I really appreciate you coming in.
It was great being on the podcast with
well,
you, Gary.
I'm
Thanks
really
so much
I'm really
for
happy
having me.
about that. Thanks for being here.